Okay, Constance Zimmer, huge congratulations on your Critics' Choice nominations for you and for Sherry Appleby, and the biggest and best of them all, Best Drama Series. Take us through what it was like when you heard all of that great news.
You know, it's very funny because I had no idea the nominations were coming out, and I turned my phone off at night, as everybody should. And when I woke up and I turned my phone on, there was all these texts that were coming through that were saying, congratulations, congratulations on your nomination. And Sherry had sent me a text and said, congratulations on your nomination. And I was like, what is happening? I don't even know what's going on. And so I was texting people back, but also trying to go on the internet to read what even happened. And I saw, of course, I saw that Sherry was nominated, and I was so excited. And then I saw that I was nominated, but I went down because I'm like you, and for me, I felt like I was really hoping that the show got nominated. And so when I saw that the show got nominated, that was when I think I really got excited.
Right.
You know, because that to me was such a huge accomplishment, and I think meant even more to us than like our individual nominations, even though I have to say it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, pretty cool, especially for a first-year show. The critics are really good about, picking out some of the first-year shows that maybe other award shows like the Golden Globes, shame on them, missed. So that's one of the great things about these critics nominations.
Well, and it's funny because we were there a year ago and we presented, and they at that time had given us the honor of saying that we were the year's breakout show. And the show hadn't really even aired yet. I think we were airing in June. And so that was already, like, we couldn't even believe that critics, the people who are the most critical people, were already saying, like, this show's going to be amazing. And, I think for us, we were like, wow, this is crazy. And had no idea that the critics were going to embrace the show and all of the actors on it as much as they have. And that to me is like the hardest kind of like glee club to get into.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like going onto the set after the nominations came out? Was everyone kind of, walking around a little differently, like, we're nominees now?
Well, we finished shooting the show in November of 2014.
Oh, wow.
So we have not been back on the set since then. We go back to work actually in 2 months, in March.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so it's hard because we haven't been able to share all of these nominations and all of these incredible reviews with our crew and with the whole cast, because we've all been scattered all over the place. But thank God for social media, because at least it makes you feel like everybody's getting a little bit of a taste of it, even though it's quite impersonal.
And, for those that don't know, on UnReal, you play Quinn King, the executive producer of Everlasting. She's not necessarily the nicest person in the room, but she's really, really good at her job.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes nice people don't get the work done as quick as it needs to be done, especially working in the world of reality television. Time is money, and their shows are being created right then and there, and with the additional editing that happens to make it even more exciting or dramatic. And so I think that for Quinn, I feel that her biggest asset is she's honest and she's unfiltered, because she doesn't have time to break it down and make it nice and sweet for everyone. It's just, this is the way it's going to be, or it's not going to happen. And it's really fun playing that kind of role, because we can't do that in our daily life. We would get in a lot of trouble, I think.
Is Quinn modeled after anyone in particular, or is she kind of this amalgamation of of all the different executives in the business?
You know, she is definitely an amalgamation of a bunch of people that I have met in my life, not even just executives. I think there are moms at my school that could have different variations of who Quinn is. I think there's men that I've worked for that I draw from for Quinn, and then there's always the tiniest little bit of me that might be in there somewhere, which is the really nice, vulnerable, heartfelt part of Quinn.
Mm-hmm. And back to the Critics' Choice for a second. I jumped over your co-nominees, but you're up against Ann Dowd and Regina King, Helen McCrory, Hayden Panettiere, and Maura Tierney. Wow, that's quite a bunch.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win. Let's just say I'm not preparing a speech.
I think you should.
But this is one of those instances where, and Shiri and I said this to each other, like right after we heard about the nominations, I said, this is that thing that everybody says, it feels great just to be nominated, because it really does. I have to say the recognition of the show was enough for us. It was like beyond enough, and was more than we had ever even hoped for. And getting now these nominations on top of all of that is almost too overwhelming for my brain to hold on to. So the idea of then having to cross into trying to imagine if I won, I'm not even emotionally capable.
I was thinking earlier that if Quinn herself was nominated, she would probably poison her co-nominees. She would stuff the ballot box to make sure she won. She would do anything to get up on that stage.
You know, that's so interesting. I truthfully think that I don't necessarily think she would do that, but I think she would be the kind of person that, I mean, I think she could maybe pay somebody off.
Yeah. My absolute favorite part of the show is seeing the manipulation that goes on behind the scenes of you know, in particular, a Bachelor type show. Was that kind of eye-opening for you? Because it was for me. I imagine, you know, some of the audience watching on Lifetime, it was kind of like a, wow, does this really happen?
Yes, that was definitely some of the scripts that I would read and think, I don't understand how people go back on these shows after having already lived through that once. Reading it as a script and acting it out was also entirely different, because you feel how slimy it just feels, but you can't have those kinds of emotions. You have to kind of get rid of all of them. And these are people who just have a job to do, and they don't know any different. This is their job, and this is how they get it done. And that's it. It's the same thing as, you know, anybody with any job. Like, what do you need to do to get your outcome? And I think for them, it's just not an emotional, for Quinn in particular, she doesn't feel the emotion anymore. She's been in it for far too long. And I think with Rachel, it's fun because you get to see her still struggling with the manipulation and how it makes her feel, and trying to fight those emotions. Where Quinn has been doing it for so long, those emotions are now like under the rug and come out in other places. But for me, I think the most shocking stuff is actually the editing.
Right. Like how they can make a scene look at a completely opposite way of how it actually was. Yeah.
That to me was like, oh my, I mean, because I know that happens. I mean, that happens to actors when you're doing scenes and you think they're going to take one take, but then they end up taking another one, and it's a totally different delivery of what you may have wanted it to seem like. So the fact that you're putting the editing in the hands of the people who are manipulating you already to begin with, I mean, I don't, it's crazy. That is a crazy world
Mm-hmm.
to like voluntarily go into.
Right. I'm a big, reality fan, and this definitely has opened my eyes a little bit. And I'm starting to look at things a little more closely.
That's good. I think it's good. Here's the thing. We didn't set out to like destroy reality television. Reality television is here to stay. I think, people thought it was going to go away, 5-6 years ago, and it's clearly not. It has an audience, and that audience is never going to leave it. I think it's fun that we're just giving people a different viewpoint into that world. But I think it's actually going to draw more people to watching reality television if they didn't before, because they're going to be kind of in awe of our show and saying, really? Is that really what's going on? Like, are they really not up in that hot air balloon and only, 100 feet off the ground?
Yeah. Or the scene with the horses was really great too. The close up, and then it cuts to the stuntmen on the horse.
It's so funny. I mean, and like the mechanical horses.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's genius. Makes me laugh.
You have so many great scenes with Shiri. There's a lot of respect between the characters, almost like they're coworkers, but they're sisters at the same time. And I mean, sisters fight, and these two have had their disagreements. What's it like working with Shiri day in and day out?
I have to say, we really like won the lottery because we know that this doesn't happen all the time. We like really truly like each other and respect each other as actors and as people and as moms, and we really are like best friends. So that is stuff that's super hard to act. And I think that we were so lucky, and we're so fortunate that it's true that it's that stuff comes easy because we really do have that mutual respect for each other, and it shows. And I think it is a lot of what Quinn and Rachel have to have. They have to love each other no matter what. Underneath all of it, you have to believe that they love each other. Mm-hmm. And as much as they hurt each other, they believe that they're doing what's best. Quinn, for me, and I almost think, she is the mom and the dad that Rachel never had. And I think that she believes that everything she's doing is for the best for Rachel. But that's, coming from a slightly altered world that Quinn lives in already to begin with. But it is such a dream getting to work with her every day. And we have the best time. I mean, we laugh, and it's just hilarious that the characters that we're playing, on television are nothing like how we are to each other.
Right.
And yet it works. I mean, it's kind of, it's like that what is it? What's that saying? Finding oh gosh, my dog's gonna now have a barking attack. There's that saying, finding finding a needle in a haystack.
Mm.
I do truly think that that's what we found. And like lightning in a bottle, Shiri and I together, the chemistry that we have is just there all the time. And it's so fun to be able to really shape shift it in front of the camera.
And I love your relationship with Craig Bierko. You guys started together on Boston Legal, which is one of my favorite shows. So it's great, for Boston Legal fans to see you together again here.
It's crazy. I mean, when they told me that they were offering the part to Craig, I was so excited because I think he is such a phenomenal actor, and he really does kind of camouflage into all the roles that he plays.
Yeah. And
when he walked on the set the first day, I hadn't seen him in years. And when he walked on the set the first day, I said, "Oh my God, you're Chet. Like, that's it." I don't even, it was extraordinary. And I think, again, that's one of those bonus situations where Craig and I already had this history of just knowing each other and liking each other and having worked together. And that's also was such an incredible just bonus that was already there. So all the other stuff we just had to kind of build as we went along. But we have, again, I have so much fun with him. We can really be mean and awful and hurtful to each other. And then the second they say cut, you know, we're all laughing and goofing off. And it's just like a big party.
And switching gears for a second, everyone in the industry is buzzing about the new X-Files. And I have to ask, you were a guest star on season 7. I think it was back in 2000-ish. What do you remember from that experience? The episode was called First Person Shooter.
Oh, gosh. That is such a vivid memory in my career because I was a huge X-Files fan. And so when I got that part, those are the moments in your careers where you think, is this really happening? You know, I remember being on this huge soundstage and there was these like director's chairs set up and it was Chris Carter, David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, Gary Shandling was there one day visiting, and me. And we were all sitting just on these director's chairs in this like kind of like a semicircle. And I feel like my face the whole time was probably like this.
As a fan, you know, right in the midst of everything, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that was an episode that Chris Carter actually was directing was also kind of mind-blowing. And and thankfully I still have those moments to this day. But it was so much fun. I mean, David was like the older brother that I never had. You know, while we were taking takes, he was tickling me, trying to get me to mess up my lines. And, you know, it was so surreal because it's already super stressful. And I was so concerned about, you know, fitting into that X-Files world. And it was, I mean, it's one of my greatest memories being on that show.
Nice. And the fans of UnReal are clamoring at the bit. They want the show to come back. Do you know anything about season 2? Have you, I mean, you haven't filmed yet, but do you know where your character's going at all?
I have heard that the show is definitely going to go darker and further than we went in season 1. Because in season 1, you know, we were testing the waters. I think we were making sure that people were going to get it. And they got it. So I know that there's, in the beginning, what I've heard and what I'm allowed to say is that in the beginning, Quinn and Rachel start out, you know, together as a team because they're celebrating the fact that I now am an owner and I'm running Everlasting, which is how we ended it, you know, the first season. So I believe it begins with a lot of them together and celebrating that until, of course, Chet shows up again and has this newfound, almost like religion of sorts, which, you know, he's lost all this weight, he's a new man, and he's trying to reclaim his manhood. You know, dealing with the men in a female world, which I'm really excited about because nobody has really seen inside that world. Like how there are so many women in powerful positions now that didn't exist 5 years ago, let's say, or even a year ago. And how are the men handling it? How are they dealing with now this new hierarchy that has been set? And I know they're going to delve into that. I know that we are going to see some of my background. There is a parent that I believe we're going to meet.
Interesting.
Which I think might not be very pretty. You know, I think what's super exciting is that we are venturing into the, you know, African-American suitor and dealing with race and how much, you know, people don't talk about it on television.
Mhm.
And that makes me a little nervous because I feel like Quinn is probably going to always be incredibly inappropriate when it comes to those topics.
Right.
You know, we saw a little bit of it in the first season, how much I was very callous to all of that. And I do believe that, you know, the fans were so appreciative of somebody calling it out and talking about it for the first time, that I think the fact that we now actually have an African-American suitor that nobody has really done before,
Mhm.
that's kind of exciting. That's uncharted territory that I hope will make for an incredible season of Everlasting.
That is such a great tease. That might be the best tease I've ever heard. I want to watch it right now.
It was very long. I need to come out with some like shorthand.
No, it was great. But it was great talking to you today. Best of luck at the Critics' Choice Awards. We're all rooting for you guys.
That is so sweet. Really. I really appreciate you guys have been so great to us too. So thank you.
Cool. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.